This is wine, and let's get on all fours and crawl inside a barrel. Barrel Oak Winery is one of the most enjoyable and fascinating wineries I have yet visited. Affectionately known as Bow by its patrons and staff alike, it's located in Delaplane, right in the heart of Virginia wine country, and about, let's say, 45 minutes from downtown DC, depending on how bad traffic is. We all know how that goes. Now, what sets Barrel Oak apart from other wineries that I've visited is not just the award-winning wines, and trust me, there are a lot of them, but also an atmosphere that is as unique as Virginia Rosewood itself. First of all, they don't just call it BOW as an acronym or out of affection. No. That place is pure pet friendly, particularly of the dog sort. Now, when I went out there to visit and take a look around, there was actually an adoption day going on, and dogs of every breed, color, and size were all running around, not just outside on the patio or on the grounds, but inside the tasting room as well. I mean, seriously, how many wineries do you think actually allow animals inside the tasting room? Yeah, think about that for a second. Also throw in the fact that there was a huge cookie jar of, well, dog cookies, I guess you could say, so people could feed their pets while their two-legged friends were enjoying the wines. Not only that, there are oil paintings all over the walls of different dogs and breeds and things like that, as well as the fact that several of their wines are named after different types of dogs. So, if you're a dog person or a pet person in general, this place will have you at hello, or meow, or woof, or anything like that. Now let's take a moment to talk about size. It does matter, particularly when dealing with large groups or parties. Now, a lot of wineries obviously have a nice large area for people to convene, but usually the tasting bar is small and homely. Well, there's nothing wrong with that until you get a rowdy party of 10 or 10 plus jostling for a spot, and then let's face it, it just turns into another crowded bar in DC during Friday happy hour. Well, you don't have to worry about that at Barrel Oak Winery. The tasting room is huge. I mean, picture a barn and an airplane hangar. Now throw in a Tudor-style mansion for good measure. Now gut it and put in wood floors, a mezzanine, and the barrel room, I guess you could say. The barrel room and the operations center in the basement. Yeah, now you're getting the idea. When you walk inside, you leave behind kind of the flagstone path and the gravel parking lot, the nice grass on the outside, and you enter this beautiful open area. We're talking polished wood floors, sparkling walls, beautiful tasting bar, and there are a few tables and chairs scattered around out inside so people can sip and sup and enjoy everything like that. But the bar itself is huge. Like I said, I mean, it's one of the bigger ones that I've seen. I mean, you could probably fit 20 to 30 people reasonably at the bar without having to worry about space or being cramped or spoiling the experience for that matter. Not only that, take it another step further. When you walk outside through the huge bay doors, like I said, it's kind of what's reminded me a little bit of an airplane hangar. There's a beautiful patio, once again, more flagstones, tables, a lot more tables, and an outdoor tasting bar. So, if you're feeling claustrophobic on the inside, you can go out to the outside. Or if you just want to enjoy the weather, there's the outside bar as well. But the outside bar does not even take away the experience of the winery at all. Trust me. Now, like I said, when I went out there with a friend of mine, when was it? A couple weeks ago, it was very crowded. I mean, they said it was pretty standard to be that busy on weekends. And I know in normal circumstances, a lot of the other wineries I visited, the staff, they're not as attentive. That's just my opinion. No, not at Barrel Oak. When I was out there, it was crowded. We managed to get a spot at the far end of the tasting bar. There were probably a good 25 people at the tasting bar next to us. But that still didn't take away the experience. Our taster, Kathy, was phenomenal. She was friendly, she was attentive, she did not try and just rush us through the wines, get the tasting out of the way, so, for turnover's sake. No. She took the time to talk about the flavors, the bouquets of each wine, and furthermore, talked about the pairings that go with them, talked about any kind of questions we had, and was very quick to show us all the award-winning wines. So, and also, let's take a second to talk about the wines and the tasting menu. Not a fan of red or white, or you want to do both, doesn't matter. Barrel Oak lets you sample the reds, they let you sample just the whites, they'll let you do the whole bar, and not only that, they also have sangria that you can have a taste of as well. So it's got a mix and match of everything, so you can do one, you can do the other, you can do both. Personally, I like to sample the whole bar, it just makes things interesting. Not only that though, going back to the tasting experience, not only that, Kathy actually took the time to introduce my friend and I to Brian, the owner. He was, once again, like Kathy, very hospitable, very friendly, very outgoing, and very informative. He actually gave us a private tour of the place, showed us around the operations center, the crush pad, the barrel room itself, answered our questions, and gave us a lot of knowledge on Virginia wine history. Don't worry, that's a separate entry. We're not going to go there. But like I said, everybody there was friendly, everybody there was outgoing, informative, helpful. Any questions we had were answered immediately. If they didn't know, they were quick to ask somebody else who might know. So thank you, Kathy and Brian, for the experience. You guys were wonderful and made the whole Barrel Oak experience just very enjoyable. We will be back, I can assure you of that. But let's talk more about the wine. That's kind of partly what this is. Now, after sampling all the menu, both red and white, and a couple of dessert wines for that matter, I was on the fence. Like I said, I wanted to take a lot of those home, but I can only pick one for this entry, so don't worry, I will be sampling more later on. But the one I chose for this entry is a dessert wine, and that is called Barrel Oak Chocolate Lab. Yeah, I told you it was definitely pet friendly. There are a couple other wines there that are named after dogs and things like that, but I decided on a dessert wine. And the name is not just after a dog. No. Chocolate Lab is actually a Chamboursin-style grape, and I apologize if I slaughtered how to say that during the fermentation process they add the cacao nib to the tanks, so it lets off this more, obviously chocolate into it. I sampled this, and it had me at hello. And the chocolate in the bouquet is just very subtle. You can definitely smell the Chamboursin-style grapes in a kind of almost a dry fashion. But there's definitely that chocolate smell into it. It's just apparent enough without trying to take away from the wine itself. Now, the chocolate taste is definitely in the forefront. It hits you immediately, but it's not overpowering. Like I said, it's subtle. There are hints of vanilla in it, almost a dry coffee-ish roasted taste to it as well. And then you have the semi-dry, semi-fruity red in the background. So you have these mixed flavors that are very delicious and very subtle. It comes together very nicely. Pairing-wise, I would do this with a semi-sweet dessert. Like I said, earlier when I did the Chardonnay, last entry, this is more, obviously, for sipping purposes. This is an aperitif, the sort of thing you can have before a meal, or after a meal, or just whenever you feel like it, like now. I actually sampled this with some peanut butter cookies that, obviously kind of had the slight sweetness to it, paired very well. Like I said, you don't want to have this with anything too sweet. Maybe dark chocolate. If you're trying to give Sandra like the throwdown and have a date that give you the starry-eyed look, you could actually probably put this on top of ice cream or sorbet with fruit. something like that for an extra touch to that. Semi-homemade, very impressive, but like me, I wouldn't pair this with anything. Like I said, it's maybe a dry, semi-dry dessert, semi-sweet dessert, but I would rather have this by itself. So, all in all, Barrel Oak was wonderful. The experience was great. The atmosphere was great. All the wines, and that says a lot. All the wines were phenomenal. Kathy and Brian were wonderful people. I definitely look forward to my next visit. And the Chocolate Lab, ooh, oh yeah, it had me at Wolf, or hello. So, until my next entry, to adhere to an old Spanish proverb, with wine and hope, anything is possible. Cheers.